Hi, it's Kim, and here we are for our daily lockdown health tip. And today, what I want to talk about is lockdown loneliness, how to deal with loneliness. So, I've experienced a lot of loneliness myself in my life, which is why I really had to explore this topic very deeply and work out what is it that causes it. And that may sound obvious, but actually I'm going to share one reason which is not so obvious, and more importantly, what do I need to do to resolve it. So obviously there's a lot of people who may find themselves alone in their home, alone as they're in lockdown, and that can be challenging. So I want to share what I feel are the two main reasons for experiencing loneliness. And one of them is obvious and one of them is not so obvious. But the good news is that there are solutions for either. Now, the first reason is obviously lack of social contact with other human beings. Or even, if we have a pet, that can make a huge difference. Even if we have another animal living in our house, we need this contact with other living beings. So if we find ourselves in a situation in lockdown where we don't have the usual human contact that we have, then there are two things that we can do to help ourselves. The first is obviously to reach out and make contact with human beings as best we can, even if we're confined to our home. And that means picking up the phone, and even better, I recommend getting on audio-visual calls, because it's so much better to actually see people and make a connection in an audio-visual way. And even though it's not exactly the same as being in person with human beings, it still can really help. The other thing that we can do is just get out. Get out in nature. And even if you go to the shops and there are other people around in the shops or driving on the road, it just really can help us psychologically to see these other people, even if we're not interacting with them. That may sound silly, but it actually works. So for example, for many years when I lived in Auckland, I was working for myself and I was living by myself, and it was pretty isolating at times because I was in the office all day by myself and all my clients were online. And then I was living by myself, so I really had to make sure that I had enough human contact every day, or at least, a few times a week. And what I would do is I would take myself down to my health club, and even though I wasn't using the facilities that much, I would just sit in the very nice lounge that they had, and I would do my work there, and there would be other people around. Now, I know during lockdown that is not so easy. As I said, we can't go to places like that. But even if we go out to the shops or we go out for a walk, there are going to be other people passing by. We can smile at them, we can say hello. And then, of course, we can still ring our friends, our family, Zoom, phone calls, whatever. So that is the first reason for the body creating feelings of loneliness. And by the way, it's always really important to understand that when the body triggers or generates emotions, and loneliness is an emotion, that we have to understand that all emotions are a feedback system. They're an intelligent feedback system telling us, I don't feel okay, and that is a sign that we need to do something about that feeling. So which will usually mean doing something about the situation, so that the body doesn't have to send that feedback anymore, because emotions are a feedback. They're a feedback system, and emotions are very intelligent. So we tend to think that so-called negative emotions are, we shouldn't have them, they're not bad, they're not pleasant, they're bad. But actually all emotions are intelligent. So whether we're experiencing sadness, grief, fear, anger, loneliness, boredom, and loneliness are, can be quite similar. They can go hand in hand. they're all a sign that our body is saying, I don't feel happy, I don't feel my normal state of joy, and there's a reason for it, and I want you to do something about it. And as soon as we take the constructive action to allay the emotion, then the body doesn't have to send it anymore. So if we ring a friend, or we go out and we see some other people, whatever it is in terms of loneliness, then we don't feel lonely anymore. And that's our body saying, okay, you did the right thing. Now, the second reason for loneliness is a much deeper reason. And it took me quite a long time to work this out, to understand it. And actually, ultimately, the real deep reason for feeling lonely is a disconnection from self. And when I mean disconnection from self, I mean a disconnection from a deeper, or we could say higher part of ourselves. So, excuse me, I've just got a phone call coming through. I need to get rid of that. Yeah, so when we understand that actually loneliness is very, very connected to not having a deeper connection within us, then we can know that we need to do something about that as well. We need to work on reconnecting with that deeper part of us that is a higher part of us, sometimes referred to as the higher self or the soul, spirit. There are lots of different words for describing these other deeper, higher parts of ourselves. When we make the time to do the work to reconnect within at this deeper level through doing, for example, meditation or Qigong practices, then we start to reconnect with that part of ourselves. And when we really truly reconnect with that part of ourselves, it's actually impossible to feel lonely. We cannot feel lonely. So those are my two little tips today for dealing with loneliness. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.